In the beginning of August, I got invited to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I got to play the game hands-on for 4 hours, and it was a great time. So, if you're here to know if the game is gonna be good or not, I like it. And I think that people who have enjoyed the first game are going to love it, and people who had trouble enjoying the first game because either combat was too difficult or something like that, the game might be a little bit more friendly towards newer players, without losing the charm, of course, that it had in the first game. So, in terms of combat, they have simplified the combat a little bit, but not in a way that it takes away from the combat's depth and fun, but in a way that it makes a little bit more intuitive for new players to pick on the combat. It feels like whenever you use a weapon attack and whenever you even move around, it feels more responsive than in the first game. It feels smoother. In the first game, you have 5 directions that you can aim your attacks by using your mouse. And in the second game, the bottom directions, they are merged together. So instead of 5, you have 4 directions. So you have left, right, up, and the 2 in the bottom, they are connected. So there is less of a wiggle to go around, which is nice. Some people might not like it, but it's something, honestly, it's a small change for veteran players, and it can be a huge thing for players who are just starting. I find that they did such a good job at keeping the combat close, but better, more like smoother and responsive than in the first game, that I had a little bit of trouble adapting to when I came back home and kept playing the first game. The weapons in the first game, they felt very similar. You could use many different weapons, but when you actually played them, they felt very similar to one another, if not quite the same. In the second game, the devs, they were very clear that they were really wanting to change that. So weapons like the mace, they will feel more like Henry, smash! So you just go and you hit stuff and that's it. And the weapons like the longsword to be more finesse and requiring more training, practice, comboing, to be more of a precision weapon. Different types of weapons will probably attract different types of playstyles and different types of people, so that seems like the good way to go. Also, in the first game, when depending on the type of your helmet, you would have a visor, and sometimes that would block your field of view quite a lot, which is realistic, and that's how it works. In the second game, you will have an option to toggle it on or off the visor, which a lot of the knights also did at the time. And sometimes, even though you're more protected with the visor, losing that field of view is just not worth it. Other fewer things that changed the game is absolutely stunning. There were some parts in the beginning that gave me chills. There were some parts that made me really angry. The writing felt really fun, just kind of like in the first game, but at the same time, the game is not afraid to get serious and sometimes violent, sometimes, you know how Kingdom Come is, and if you don't, that's okay too. The game does a very good job in introducing you to the mechanics and everything about the game right away. The game introduces you to the gameplay mechanics, not only to combat itself, but also to stealth, to crafting, to everything. So quite tutorial heavy in the start, but it prepares you for whatever will come. The game is very good at introducing new players of the main character building experiences that Henry has. Henry in the second game is not an idiot anymore. He has some training, so he will already be a little bit better at combat. He will know a lot of things. Depending on the choices that you pick in the very beginning, he will know a little bit more, and he already knows how to read. He already knows how to communicate with people. He's a lot less of a, gamer than he was in the beginning of the first game. The UI and the inventory, when I first looked at it, I was like, oh my god, it's exactly like the first game. And then I stopped and looked for a little longer, and I realized that it was very close to the first game, but it looked a lot more detailed, a lot more like pretty, refined. It's literally like every aspect of the game that they had in the first game, they basically spent some time and was like, what's good about this? What's not so good about it? Let's improve on that. Let's try to make what's not so good a little bit better. So it feels like a direct improvement from the first game in every aspect that I could see. There's a few features that I really liked that they added to the game. Like, for example, if you're doing a quest that you have to follow an NPC, you can press a button and your character will automatically follow the NPC in the right pace. You can just tell your character to follow the NPC, and you can appreciate the view and pay attention to these small details that otherwise you would just sometimes be self-conscious. Oh my gosh, I'm walking too fast. Oh, I'm too slow. Oh God, you know? So now that's not a problem anymore. Also, a lot of people really dislike the saving system of Kingdom Come. That was the first question I asked the devs when I got the chance to talk to them. They kept the exact same saving systems. How you mean save? I can't save? You have no saver savior shaps? Savior snaps? Savior... Anyways, you still need to craft the potion to save your game. However, they made it a lot easier to acquire it, especially in the early game where people are still getting used to the mechanics of the game. They're still getting used to everything. So in the very beginning of the game, it shouldn't be really a lot of a restriction. I believe that the reason why they make saving in Kingdom Come like this is to stop people from reloading and redoing every little things that go out in their way. After the 4-hour gameplay section that I had, we all had completely different stories on how we did the exact same quest, and that's kind of what makes the game special. And in a way, just don't worry and let things happen, and things will turn out fine. So a few more things that I have noticed in the next game is that whenever you commit a crime, like for example, I accidentally killed somebody with no witnesses, yet the guards still harassed me, like if they knew that I committed a crime. I don't know if that's going to be the same way if you kill somebody in a forest, because then it's a little bit harder to miss anybody. I also asked the dev about the bathhouse, if there's going to be an actual sex scene, or is it going to just be fade to black and moaning like on the first game. They say that the bathhouse will have a sex scene, however, it's going to be more simple and more basic than the actual romance scenes in the game when it's related to the quest. I also asked them if the dice game was rigged. They said it wasn't, but they smirked at me, so I think they're lying. So who knows? It might be. It probably is. It was really hard to stop playing the second game. I really wish I could have played it for longer. So in a way, you guys are kind of lucky that you'll be able to play it all at once. Oh, heck. Overall, the game looked amazing. There were very few like cutscenes that I thought that the motion capture looked a little bit weird, but I feel like I'm just being overly picky because everyone else around me seemed to have loved it. What I noticed might have not been because of the motion capture, but also maybe some lightning or something like this. I don't know. And it wasn't in every cutscene. It was just like 1 or 2 scenes that I saw that it looked a little bit off. The first game in max graphics, if you play today, even though it's 6 years old, it looks amazing as well. So the second game is that, but above. And when it comes to the setting of like the world and everything, the game tries to be very historically accurate. But at the same time, the devs were very clear that they were not making a medieval simulator. Like, for example, they don't want to have a lot of like focus on disease, and they still want the game to be fun and enjoyable above everything else. We finished our gameplay section of 4 hours, and then the devs took us in a tour around Gutenberg, and they showed us screenshots of the place in the game, and also we got to see the place in real life. It was really cool because they're trying their best to be accurate, and when sometimes they would find something that didn't have like a real life physical resource for them to check, they would take very educated guesses with people who understand of the topic. I got to even meet the mayor of Gutenberg because they were all so excited for the game and for the project. It seems that this game has been made with a lot of love and a lot of care, not only from the devs, but also from the people that live in this area of the country and the people in the country in general. They all seem so happy to have their city and their culture and their history being told in a video game like this. I have left this event with a really good feeling. I think it's gonna be a great game, and I'm really excited about it. The music was absolutely incredible. The music was so nice, and they had an entire orchestra that was in a Gothic church, and it was some of the best acoustics that I have ever heard in my life. I was literally crying and tearing down during the entire orchestra. I just couldn't stop. It was absolutely amazing. So let me share with you guys now some of the quests that I did. It's going to be very light spoiler. Basically, I'm only going to share about the very beginning of the tutorial a little bit, and then a side quest that we got to do later on in the game. The prologue is very linear, and then the game opens up to open world. The prologue, you start with a part that's basically somewhat of a character creation. You make some choices that will decide the personality of your Henry, if you're soldier, scoundrel, or a diplomat. Also, depending if you did some side quests in the first game, the game will ask you a few things about it. Like, for example, Teresa. The game will ask if you romanced Teresa if you didn't, and if you did, you can either be a gentleman about it, or you can say how she, was very kinky with you, and see what happens. For new players, it should be quite welcoming because it's very straightforward questions and answers, either if you made out with a girl or not. So very simple. And then you also have your first combat tutorial is going to be a fight, a duel against Renz. And then you guys go shower in a lake while you hear some nice ladies singing, and then you start sneaking and trying to approach the ladies. As you do that, all the people that you just hanged out with at a little camp, they start being attacked, and you can't do much because you're naked in the lake, afraid that your PP is shrinking. So Henry just tries to save a girl because she's in trouble, and that drags attention to him and Hans, which they start running away. Swimming away because they're in the lake, and Henry gets shot in the shoulder. So in the beginning of the game, Henry will probably feel a little bit weaker than you would expect because he will have this wound, and that will probably halt his ability to fight as well as he did in the end of the previous game. You eventually get to a stealth part, which was the hardest part of the tutorial for me because I'm not good with stealthing. I'm a big brute, a big barbarian stuck in the body of a tiny girl. And after that, you find yourself on top of a cliff, and a bandit pushes you off, and then you kind of almost die, and then you start hallucinating of your past. This is how new players will be introduced to the events that happened in the prologue of the first game. So all the trauma and all the things that happened to Henry will be introduced here to the new players. And it's absolutely stunning. And as you are reliving this part, you have some options on the side that you can react and speak as Henry. So you can either have regrets of the past, you can feel anger, you can feel remorse, or you can simply not say anything. And there is multiple times in the second game where you can react like this to different occasions. Sometimes during the combat to counter enemies, sometimes in the middle of quests while other NPCs are doing other things. And the interesting part about this feature is that it adds flavor to your roleplay. So for example, as you're hallucinating with about your past and Hans is dragging you around, Hans can react to the things you're saying. Or if you're not saying anything at all, he will simply say for you to hang in there, that soon you will arrive in a place and you'll be okay. As if you're saying stuff, his dialogue will be related more to what you're saying. Also, before you get to that tutorial with Henry and Hans, in the very beginning of the game, there is a part of a keep defense. And you're playing as a different character that's not Henry. And you get to defend this keep. It's being invaded by enemies, and you get to use a crossbow to shoot the enemies that are at distance. As they approach, they put stairs on the keep, which is really cool because you can pull them off the stairs, and you can also shove these stairs off the wall. And if the enemies do make it, you get to fight them in the keep. It's really cool. And as the enemies breaching the first gate of the keep, they get trapped, and then they're burned alive, and some of them manage to survive and breach the other door, and eventually you find yourself fighting them, but you don't really know what happens. And 2 weeks before that is when you actually start the game and playing the tutorial, as Henry. After we played the tutorial for a bit, we had a little break, and then we came back and they put the game after the tutorial in the middle of Gutenberg in the city, and we got to do a side quest. It was quite interesting because after the entire section was done and I got to speak with other people who were also playing, and even though it was the same side quest, we all had different approaches to it, and that ended that we had different stories to tell of what happened to us. Like, for example, you have this German swordmaster and he asks you for a duel, and if you accept, you start fighting, but then the fencing school of the city arrives and say that you're not allowed to duel. You can intervene in the process and say that the German man you were actually not dueling. Instead, he was defending the honor of his daughter and his honor because you were just bragging about sleeping with her. Or you can make other excuses as well. Depending if you intervene or not, the German gentleman, he will either be kicked or not from town, and the quest can progress in a little bit of a different way. We were instructed to intervene, otherwise the quest apparently becomes a little bit longer, and we wouldn't be able to finish it. Once this part is done, we meet the German gentleman in the tavern, and then we come up with a plan on how we can force the other fencing school to duel with him, so they can decide and have a little tournament on which master should be teaching in the fencing school in the city. They come up with a plan to steal a sword from the fencing school and hang that sword in the outside of a building, which says that they're open for duelings and for challenges. And like this, they wouldn't be able to refuse the German gentleman into getting his chance to opening his own fencing school in the city. And depending on how the stealing goes, the rest of the quest can be a little bit different. For example, if you get caught while stealing that sword, the fencing guys, they will know that you meddled with this. So the tournament that you guys will hold to see which fencing school, which master deserves to have in the fencing school, is going to be a little bit biased towards the actual fencing school that is operating the city right now. So they will have better armor, and it will be a little bit harder for you to fight them, but just a little bit. If you successfully steal the weapon, the sword, without being caught, then the tournament is going to be even. And then there was also this thing that happened with me is, in one of the times that I was trying to steal the sword, I actually got followed by the master that was competing against the German guy. And I made him follow me until outside of the city, and then I knocked him down, and then I called one of the devs. And I asked him, so this guy followed me, and I knocked him down. However, if I let him live, he could tell other people, and then they will know that I stole the sword. So maybe I should kill him. If I kill him, nobody will know, and then everything's gonna be fine. And then the dad simply nodded and said that I should try whatever I felt like. And then I killed the guy, and then I failed the quest. And I was like, why are you supposed to help me? And he just smiled, shrugged away, and you know, he had a little bunny tattoo, so that was forgivable. That's why I forgive him. Also, those little bunnies, there's a bunch of little bunnies when you're stealthing in the game. If you're undetected, the bunnies, they will be like, and they will be in silence. If you do a lot of noise and the enemies start noticing that you're around, the bunnies, they will start to panic. And if you get caught, the bunnies will go red and they will start fighting with swords. So now it's a lot easier to see visually when you're stealthing if you got caught, if you're about to be caught, if you need to be more quiet than it was before. I think some cute little bunnies that a bunch of devs had the tattoos of those bunnies, and that was very cute. It just makes me like the game even more. The game is going to be released on February 11th. If they waited 2 more days, it would be February 13, which is the exact same date 6 years ago that was released the first game. However, the devs tried to get the publishers to release both games in the same day, but they're not budging. It seems like they only release in a certain day of the week, and it has to be the 11th. They're trying. Oh well. There's a lot of little details that I'll be happy to share with you guys if I remember them, or if you guys want to stop by my Twitch stream. I'll be playing Kingdom Come, the second game, when it comes out. I'll also be playing the game, the first game right now, and I'm having lots of fun. I absolutely am loving the first game, and the second game, it feels even better to play. So I'm really excited for it. The more that I got to see the people working behind it, being so excited for it, even the people of the town being so welcoming because of the game, it was just an amazing experience. I think this game is going to be really good. I hope to see you guys around, and I am going to be posting more content on the topic soon as we have more stuff to share about. Also, if you liked the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you around. Check out my Twitch channel if you guys have any question of any YouTube video I have ever posted, Baldur's Gate stuff, Kingdom Come stuff, whatever it is. I'm happy to chat with you, whatever I'm playing on Twitch. So just stop by, and thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.